Hello and welcome to Bespoke. My name is Paul Anthony.
I'm CP.
And today we're talking about the pros and cons of using an acrylic cigar humidor. So Charles-Philippe, we have a couple of different acrylic humidors on the table here. Both of these happen to be from Boveda.
What a coincidence.
We have the small Boveda one here and we have the large one here. We actually have a review on both of these humidors, acrylic humidors, in the link below. But there are other makers of acrylic humidors, such as, I know Zino, Davidoff do some, and they range from like 300 or about 280 bucks to about 600.
Yeah.
And then I think this is around $60-70, and this is about $200. And then there's also, I think, Quality Importers that do some.
They do a cigar jar, which is the AJ25. That's got a count of 25, and that's basically a little acrylic jar with a hermetic seal, and you pop the lid.
So anyway, you may have seen the jars, you may have seen the Boveda ones, you may have seen the Zino ones, but if you're going to wonder what are the pros and cons of these over a, say a wooden humidor or another airtight container, you're at the right place.
There we go.
So if we're talking about the pros of these containers, Charles-Philippe, run us down. What are the pros of using an acrylic humidor such as this?
Well, first of all, you're more likely to get an airtight seal with one of these than you are with a wooden humidor, which is going to be the most common type of humidor.
Well, on a quality acrylic humidor.
Quality acrylic humidor. Because you have a much better seal, you don't have the wood, so you're not going to have as much moisture exchange. That's the first thing. Second thing, which is quite closely related to that, is because it's not made of wood, A, you don't need to season it.
It's a lot less maintenance.
A lot less maintenance. And B, because the wood isn't going to be a natural membrane that will absorb some of the moisture, will expel it, you're not going to have any fluctuations really in humidity. It is just acrylic. It is a barrier. It's not going to have any exchange whatsoever.
So I use these smaller Boveda ones here. So if I'm taking my cigars out of long-term storage, I've got about 1,200 cigars at the moment. I'm keeping them at 62 for old welds, 65 for new welds, just to give myself a little bit of leeway. But I may want to increase those to smoke when I actually put them in my regular desktop humidor. I'll actually use this to acclimatize my cigars up to my smoking temperature. So right now I have some Cubans in here. They're with the 65% Boveda RH packs, but they were being stored at 62s. So I'll probably put them in here for a couple of weeks, then I'll transpose those into my main Cuban environment, which is kept at 65, which I think for me is where I optimally like to smoke Cubans, So
that's one use, and that's for a serious cigar enthusiast like yourself.
Yeah, someone who's like geeking out and probably gone a bit too far down the rabbit hole.
But then you have even the occasional cigar smoker who only has one maybe once a week or less than that. They might want a smaller acrylic humidor, either like this or a cigar jar, and these are very low maintenance, require very little work, and you just tuck it away in a cupboard somewhere cool, and that is where we're going to get to.
Or
next.
even with the desk. I mean, this isn't very large. This fits perfectly. And I had these in my office for a while. I actually had some mold issues though, which is probably one of the biggest downsides of these, is that you can.
Is too good?
No, is that obviously they're not temperature controlled. And
yes.
I know in my office, we're here in Philadelphia, and in the northeast it gets very hot. And I know at the weekends, the central air in our office is centrally controlled, and it'll go up to 78 degrees. So we'd be at 78 degrees at weekends, would crash back down to 69, 68 in the week, back up, and it was cycling like this. And I think that just caused them with that temperature variation. Obviously, whether the Boveda pack can be two-way quick enough in and out, cause like a super humid environment, a hot environment, and boom, I've actually saved those cigars for us to do a review on, like how to try and prevent moldy cigars. That may be something you want to look at. That's obviously one of the biggest downsides, is going to be that these aren't temperature controlled, but that's the same thing you're running into with any airtight container.
Most aren't insulated.
Yeah, and also a wooden desktop humidor. So I keep my cigars in the basement here because it's a very very steady, no temperature shock environment, and it never really gets above 64 even in the winter. So the other main con would,
the transparency. But before we dive deep into cons, let's go back to pros, because the transparency is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's great because you can see what you got.
Yeah, you can admire your collection. If you've got a digital hygrometer, we've got.
So we've got some nice Davidoffs, Camachos, we've got some Avos, we've got some aged Gurkhas down there, we've got some Ashtons, we've got some Monte Cristos, we've got some Cohibas here. I mean, yeah, there's a nice little buffet we have here on the table.
So even just to admire your collection, like we were just ogling there, but you also, if you have a digital hygrometer, you don't need to open and expose your cigars to the external environment. You can just look right through and check the figures. Although here we've got the Boveda Butler, so we're using a smart sensor instead.
And the nice thing about these ones, both the large and the small one, they've actually got integrated trays, so you can put the Boveda packs underneath. And then I just, for an extra bit of protection, why not just throw another one on top? You can't overdo Boveda packs, obviously notwithstanding the seasoning ones. That's another question, but yeah, so I think these are great. And the nice thing about this is I actually use this for when I have parties around the house. And what I'll do, if you just, this one's got a little bit of a tight seal. It's actually the magnets here that keep it kind of locked in place. What I'll do, that smells great, is I'll put like medium mild cigars, mild, and I'll put some full body cigars here, and I'll tell, you know, my guests that, you know, depending on what you're eating or what kind of mood you're in, there is a different way to do that. And it's nice here because you can actually pull this out and put the Boveda packs kind of below that. But these dividers are movable, which is quite nice. So if you're going for one of these small ones, you've only really got one option. A jar, you just kind of shoot them in the top. But this is, I'm not sure if the Zino ones have dividers, but this is quite nice because these are, you can slot it all the way across here, like no problem. Just I want to include that one over there, you know, I can just slot that sucker in and he's good to go again. You know, so that's again, we've done reviews on these, but I do actually kind of like them. The only downside is they're not stackable, but at $200, are you really going to be you know, stacking them? You can see how tight that seal is, but
that's great.
You know, so like pros are, obviously no need to season. You can see your cigars. They're great to potentially you know, transition cigars between environments. They're great for a cigar smoker who's maybe occasional. That's obviously a lot smaller than a wooden humidor. I know, again, depending on the Vitola, you can get anywhere from probably 10 to 20 cigars in there. You know, what count is this one?
75, and these 75. Are 20 to 40, I'm thinking.
No, I think
40,
they
say 20 to 25.
Like if you did Robustos like this way, then like that way, then you could get a lot more in. But obviously these are much larger.
We were talking about transparency, but there is a con to that.
Yeah, there is a massive downside, which is you don't really want direct sunlight on your cigars.
Exactly,
you know?
You have to keep them somewhere dark, so it's a nice display piece, but you can't keep it in display all the time.
It could either be a greenhouse effect, so if you've got sun beating in on there, you could definitely massively spike that temperature. You could obviously damage the wrapper with the UV rays.
Exactly.
And as we said, they're not independently cooled. Obviously, there's no like, you know, refrigeration unit in there, which is one of the issues. Oh, and I suppose they are like potentially relatively expensive. I mean, if this is $200, $70, even a jar is what, 20, 30 bucks?
Yeah, it's $20 when compared to Tupperware, which is basically converted Tupperware for
or even a Boveda humidor bag.
Or bag, yeah, indeed.
But then, contrary to that, we just finished doing a luxury cigar storage solution.
Yeah, we did.
Where we're talking about $5,000 Ellie Blues and $2,000 Davidoffs.
We're conscious of all the price.
Yeah, no. So we're just, you know, trying to give you guys some different options. Like, these are obviously very attractive. I think that's one of the main things. They look cool, but they can only look cool. Like, one of my good friends downtown, he just built himself a new kind of like liquor area, like a bar it is, but he's got these nice doors that he opens, and he's got all his racks of booze, he's got a couple of wine fridges, and this sits proudly in the middle. He's got one of these, nice. But he's able to close the doors on that area of the house. If you just got it on a desk at work and you're on a, you know, you're a big wig and you're a corner unit guy and you got the sun coming in there, or you're keeping them in your kitchen, then it's probably not going to be a great solution. I know Rob, who also does some work here on the whiskey content, you can check out Bespoke Unit for whiskey related stuff as well. Like, he has these, but he just keeps it in a drawer, so no one really gets to see it, unfortunately, because of that. But he loves the fact that it's low maintenance. So again, the pros and cons. You don't have to worry about seasoning. Throw your Boveda packs in there. Again, you can use other humidification sources, but we're, you know,
I mean, you hear about people putting jars as well on their kitchen shelves, and
you know, so I mean, I don't know, it's like, for us, it's just the easiest, most convenient solution. You know what you're getting, you just rip a Boveda pack in there. Again, I mean, there's no secret here that we're massive brand advocates for Boveda and what they do. We've been through the ringer, you know, as you know, I've had mold, as I've said in this video, high humidity, low humidity, and it just kind of removes those issues. But in these kind of airtight environments, I think they're perfect. They last a very long time as well.
I've been nearly a year, I think, with mine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so again, this is a great party piece for me. I think the Zino ones are very, very attractive as well. The jars are kind of cool. I've seen them standing up. If you've got a few and they're like leaning over on the foot, you might damage the foot a little bit of the cigar. Again, if you're not really sure with some of the anatomical terminology we're using about cigars, we have guides at bespokeunit.com/cigars. But yeah, so this is definitely a great storage option. So, you know, a lot of people get into cigars, they only see wooden humidors. We have acrylic humidors, we have like Boveda humidor bags. I use Tupperware, you know, I use like massive containers. I've got fridges. There's so many options.
Yeah,
you've really just got to figure out what works for you.
What's the most adapted to your needs, exactly.
You know, so again, like this is, you know, there are basically many options to do, you know, instead
Too
of
many
going over them. So again, very, very quick recap. Pros, no seasoning, you get to see in it, and they're pretty attractive. Major downsides are
very good seal.
Very good seal.
Yeah.
Major downside, you can take the downsides.
The downside, the transparency, exposure to UV light, no insulation, temperature. Some can be somewhat expensive.
Yeah,
that pretty much hits it.
That pretty much sums it up. I mean, you're not going to. I think, as I say, like most expensive maybe the Zino Davidoff ones.
Yeah,
but you know, again, I think it comes down to aesthetics. When we did talk about the luxury ones, you know, sometimes it just comes down to what you like the look of.
Yeah,
ultimately,
exactly.
You know, so if it suits your needs and you like the look of it, get it, great. But just know the downsides that don't leave this in the sun. But you wouldn't do that with wooden humidor anyway. So that's like a pretty much a universal. You know,
I did do that.
You did that for a little while. I remember we were on a conference call and he's in France and he's like, I'm like, what's that behind you, man? It's like a beam of light just crushing his humidor. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
this was several years ago now. So, you know, we've both got each other's collections in check by this point. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. We would love to hear your comments on how you've got on with acrylic humidors, whether you like them, hate them, have any suggestions for any other brands, because there's probably more out there than we've mentioned here. These are just the ones that we actually have in our collections right now. Please like the video if you did like it. Also subscribe to our channel because we're releasing a lot of content on a weekly basis, whether it's around cigars. We also cover many other topics such as whiskey mentioned in this video. We also talk about whiskey pairings with cigars. We cover watches, shoes, suits, travel, you name it. We're a guide to the dapper life, which is the tagline. And as you hit that subscribe button, definitely sign up for our notifications. So with all that being said, my name's Paul Anthony.
I'm CP.
And we'll see you next time.
Take care.